And we have this. Hey y'all, APG Jamie here. And today brings us 4th Art Saturday with a assigned theme of science, science, science. Okay, it's just one science. And I thought about experimenting, which this sort of is, because it's my very, very, very first time to monoprint on shrink plastic. Now, I'd seen lots of people use sanded shrink plastic. Okay, mine is from Grafix. Okay, and I bought, I don't know, a medium-sized package way back when, so I still have way a lot of it. Anyway, I took one of my sheets, because I'm using 2 sheets, and I sanded it in a crisscross fashion, up and down and then side to side. Okay, now I know that stazon's the best ink to stick to plastic and metal and stuff like that. Okay, it is very nice, y'all. Anyway, what I'm doing is I'm using 2 different stamps. Using one on the sanded, which we're doing here. This one is now the unsanded sheet. Now, in my opinion, for me, I'm okay with it not being sanded. It worked just fine not being sanded. So I doubt if I will do that again. However, with that said, from what I understand, if you're going to use color pencils, okay, you want the sanded one so that the pencil has a little something to grip onto. Okay, I'm just throwing that out there. And at one point, you know, while I was in the house sleeping and junk, I woke up in the middle of the night and I'm like, oh, I need to try the Distress Oxides on there. But, you know, by the time I got up, I didn't do it. So, anyway, we're just going to use regular craft paints. Now, another tip I have for you, it's one I learned online. You want this stuff to dry. So, and I'm just taking notes of which one is on the sanded and which stamp is on the not sanded one, just in, you know, for future reference, like, you know, yesterday reference. Anyway, I got lost. Who is shocked by that? Anyway, going to use a stencil. I'm putting gold paint through the stencil and we're smooshing around. There's a list of ingredients. Description box below. ... More. For more information. Including links to my fellow 4th Art Saturday artists. Okay. So you can get more sciencey goodness. All right. So you want this to dry. I let the inking dry overnight. It would have been fine in, you know, in an hour or 2. But with my humidity, you know, they said, make sure it's dry. So I let it dry overnight. So I put on the layer of gold through the stencil. And I use a blow dryer on cool setting only. Cool setting only. Because monoprints are flammable, y'all, in case you didn't know that. Cool. See? Cool. Be cool about it. And then I put on a dark layer of green, and now I'm adding some black. Oh no, this is, yeah, same one. Different one. I don't know. I'm confused. Obviously, I'm not paying attention to my own video. Oh, yeah, it's this dark one into turquoise. So, when you have, you make it dark, it gets darker as it shrinks, okay? So, you want to try to keep it light and airy. Now, the next set of paints that we will use, they all ended up being sort of translucent, which was not quite good either. You want some opacity and some translucency, okay? I am Not disappointed with my results. However, I've learned not to make them quite so dark, okay? It was a process, and it got to be somewhat tedious, y'all. I'm not gonna story you, okay? Now, the science part of this comes in because it's magical plastic that shrinks when you heat it up. You can use a heat gun. You can use a big old giant oven like in your house, or you can use a toaster oven, which is what I will be using today. And it was said toaster oven that I was looking for when I found that sewing machine that I thought I had donated, but I ended up not donating it. So now I'm going to donate the other ones again. Yeah, something like that. Sciencey fun, y'all. This is the one that ended up being more translucent. I accidentally hit stop, so I have to start the voiceover in the middle again. Anyway, more translucent. With practice, okay, I think you could get better. Well, maybe you'll already be more better, okay? Any hoots. Now my computer wants to do a restart. Holy smokes, people. That's a hand carved stamp I did several years ago. And I'm using both the sanded and the translucent one. For me, there really wasn't much of a difference other than my dark one there is too dark because, like I said before, when it shrinks, it gets darker. Now, I was thinking that stamped script would end up being way dark, but it wasn't. It came out pretty good. Dry over the weekend. I let this dry over the weekend, okay? Because you want to make sure it's dry. Now, I had a little much paint on the dark one. So, later on, I'll have to do a little edge sanding, right, on the dark one. It shrank really well. I was like, wow, science is so flipping cool. So these I'm cutting with the scissors. I personally think cutting with the scissors is the way to go with the unusual shapes, because as you will see coming up, I used some punches. Some of them did okay. Some of them did not do quite so good. So I ended up losing some of my shrink plastic, my magical shrink plastic. This one did great. Maybe it's because it doesn't have the the thicker paint on there. I don't know. That's probably really why. And I used some die cuts on some of them. I don't film that part because y'all know how to die cut. And when this magical plastic shrinks, it gets thicker, and the whole thing will shrink up to about 1/3 of the size you started at. So if you have really small shapes to begin with, it's gonna be pretty tiny. My ultimate goal was was to make little charms, to make some little journaling charms kind of thing, or floofle charms, or little things you could put them on earrings or a necklace, something like that. Advice: you got sharp corners, round those puppies off, because you don't want to be scratching and poking yourself with sharp edges, because once this stuff shrinks, it's you'd have to take a Dremel to it to get it to not be sharp and pokey. So these little fiskars did not work very well on the plastic, y'all. I was really saddened by that. So anyway, some of them I took the where I punched out the oval, I just cut around the remaining oval and made it like a circle. It's a circle, y'all. So now you want to punch your hole. I did a test beforehand to see which hole punch I wanted to use. The full-size regular hole punch is fine. The larger hole on the Crocodile, I feel is perfect. The smaller hole punch on the crocodile would be like one for a small needle to go through, okay? So I went with the larger hole on the crocodile because you don't want your hole to be bigger than the item you're punching, just saying. Because remember, everything's going to shrink. Now, I'm using the toaster oven. I have folded that piece of aluminum foil on my toaster oven pan, and I've laid my things on there. Now, it's handheld, so, you know, it might be a little shaky, off screenage, whatever, okay? Okay. I have the oven door open, so it's not necessarily going to work perfectly great, okay? Because I'll end up having to close the door because it's like, not quite there all the way. They get all crazy and rolling up, and it's like, oh my gosh. Now, I put some of these with the paint side up and some of them with the paint side down. For me, it made no difference which side was up and which side was down, okay? And this is, I think this is where I close the door because it's not quite, the heat's not quite staying in there quite enough. It was kind of coolish too. It's cool weather, y'all. Freaky! Anyway, I think I'll close it in a minute. Because you want them to, they will unroll themselves. You just got to wait for it, okay? There we go. We're flattening back out, okay? Everything's hot. You must use pot holders because you're going to burn you, people. And just to make sure they were flattish, I laid my, you know, my heavy acrylic blocks on there because we can wait on it. And here's another tray, okay? I know these don't even look like there's paint on there, but there is. And the photographs, they were very hard to photograph, y'all. I'm just letting you know, okay? Look at them, they get all twisty and crazy like. It's like, oh my goodness, what is going on? It's like magic. Oh, I said that, I put that on there. It's magic, y'all. Look at them. It's like, oh, this is not gonna work. You can use a heat gun. Okay, on your desktop. I like, if you're doing several, I would use an oven. Okay? Just because. Anyway. Allegedly, you can use paint markers, acrylic paint markers. I think, pretty sure you can use alcohol inks. Again, you want to make sure all this stuff is dry because, you know, alcohol is flammable. Just saying. So, we're doing all this. That one in the middle's not quite flattening back out. See, I'm pointing at it, but it did. It finally did. Now we're gonna wait on it. And when I say wait on it, I mean it's like, I don't know, 30 seconds, okay? Now I've protected my desktop. Y'all see that? I got all my millions of layers on there, you know, nothing's going anywhere. And, you know, I left that on there like, I don't know, not even a full minute. Some of them stuck a little bit, some of them didn't. Didn't matter if it was paint side up, paint side down. I know I've already said that. Now, some of the ones, the paint, because my darker paint was a little thick, y'all. It was. They suggest you keep it thin, but mine was got a little thick because somebody got a little layer happy on a jelly plate. Registered trademark. Anyway, just taking an emery board, a fingernail file, and scraping down in one direction the little edge of the paint, okay? Now, there are several ways you can seal up your painted side or your penciled side, which you really kind of want to do because it's plastic. It, you know, and this stuff will probably scratch off. I am using UV resin, okay? Now my brush came off the barrel. Anyway, I'm just using UV resin because I have it, so I'm using it. You can use varnish or whatever kind of sealer you like. I guess you could even use a spray sealer. As long as it's not going to hurt your plastic, you should be good to go. So I have various shapes and, you know, sizes. I'm really happy with that hand carved stamp, how well it turned out on these, y'all. I may have to, you know, use some of my, well, they're smaller. Anyway, I will show, there in the photo montage, there will be a picture of the hand carved stamp next to that. And that's the Mother Earth representation of the Mother Earth, Gia, however you want to pronounce it. Okay, these are just strips, because like I said, I'm thinking journal charms. Okay, so, and some of them didn't cut properly, so I ended up losing some of my film. Okay, my plastic graphics, shrink plastic. Y'all, it's so cute. Anyway, like I said, kind of tedious, because now we're going to put jump rings on them and put them on a piece of chain. Okay. Now, when you open your jump rings, you want to twist it, not pull. Don't pull those ends apart. Twist them apart so you can twist them back together. Okay. And we're just going to chain it all out. And like I said, tend to go lighter on the paint, thinner paint, wispy paints, somewhat translucent and a little bit of opacity to it. The stamping worked out fine, you know, but there again, if your stamped image is very close together, it's going to be really dark when it's done. I'm happy with that. And I make 5 with the Mother Earth, and then I have some die cut telephones and little Tim Holt car things, and I got 5 of those, and then 1 extra thing, and then just those loose ones right there, because yeah, get the loose ones. So here we go. And the UV resin is very shiny on the one side, and the plastic is shiny on the other side. The stamped image is more visible on this side. One side's going to be more visible. Some of them had little teeny tiny bubbles in there. Maybe I left it in the oven too long. I don't know. Follow the directions on your shrink plastic if you're going to do this. There are videos out there to show you how to mold your pieces into various shapes, like flowers and curlicues and whatnot. Excuse me. I'm just reaching for the science part of this, y'all, because, you know, I'm so not scientifical. Ta-da! Photo montage. The rectangle does not have the resin on the back painted side there. The car does. Like I said, they were hard to photograph. In real life, they look better. The colors are better in real life. just saying. It's a scientific thing, y'all. I can't explain it. Look, I'm pretty happy with them. It was kind of tedious. Would I do it again? I don't know. You know, sometimes it's about the process. Sometimes it's about the outcome. Thanks for watching, and happy arting, y'all. Weird science.